Are you serious? Are you serious? Well, Donald Trump is apparently, and this is affecting the Middle East in a big way. Now, you guys remember the Arab Spring. What a joke. It turned the Middle East into total madness. And President Barack Obama orchestrated it along with his Secretary of State, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Matter of fact, the Clintons were personal friends with Mohammed Mursi back in the late 80s. So when the Arab Spring began, Obama called for different leaders to be overthrown, like Ben Ali of Tunisia and Hosni Mubarak of Egypt. Matter of fact, Hosni Mubarak had been in charge of Egypt for 30 years, had built the economy, and had maintained the peace agreement with Israel that Jimmy Carter, Menachem Begin, and Anwar Sadat had built together. But whenever Egypt fell, when the spring uprising, and not only that, Gaddafi fell in Libya, and Ali al-Saleh fell in Yemen, and Syria blew up into this major war, and then of course ISIS rose up in Iraq because Obama pulled out all of our troops and left all the equipment. It was Mohammed Mursi, who took over Egypt. He immediately fired everybody in Congress, rewrote the Constitution, gave himself almost ultimate power, fired 70 governors, and started to implement Sharia law. He was cracking down. Christians were being hung, crucified, beheaded, 500 churches destroyed, and the whole time it was happening, Obama was praising Mohammed Mursi, calling it the Arab Spring of democracy. Are you serious? Even Wolf Blitzer of CNN went to the palace of Mohammed Mursi and spent 3 days interviewing him and bragging on him and his initiatives for Egypt. After 1 year, 14 million Egyptians took to the grounds and rose up in protest and overthrew Mohammed Mursi because the general at that time, Sisi, arrested Mohammed Mursi and took back the country, stopped the slaughter of the Christians and the innocent, drove the Muslim Brotherhood into the Sinai Desert, and reestablished order in Egypt. Barack Obama demanded that Sisi release Mohammed Mursi immediately and even threatened to cut off military aid to Egypt. But of course, Sisi held his ground. And Obama never extended an invitation to Sisi to come to Washington and never met with him. Well, we just got news. President Donald Trump has just extended an invitation to the Egyptian president, Sisi, and he is coming early April to meet with President Trump. Matter of fact, the Egyptian president, Sisi, will make his first state visit to Washington during the first week of April at the invitation of U.S. President Donald Trump. Egyptian state-owned newspapers Al Aram is confirming the trip will be Sisi's first U.S. state visit since being elected president in 2014, as former U.S. President Barack Obama had never extended this invitation. Sisi was elected a year after leading a military coup in which he ousted the Muslim Brotherhood president Mohammed Mursi after massive protests, as I just said, of over 14 million people. What are they going to talk about? Obviously, Trump is pro-Israeli big time, but he wants to work with the Egyptians. Now, if you study Bible prophecy as I do, you would know, and probably do know, that in the book of, we have the Arab Spring as Daniel chapter 11, 41 through 45. But did you realize in the book of Isaiah, when it talks about Egypt, the burden of Egypt, it says, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. During that Arab Spring, they literally broke into King Tut Museum and stole 5 major idol gods out of that museum. They moved it, all right? And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother and every one against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. We witnessed that during the Arab Spring. But if you read on, it says that the nation of Israel would be smite, but then be healed. after even the rivers would dry up, and that happened as well. And the economy would suffer. That happened as well. And then as you read on, this is a fascinating chapter, but when you get down to verse 22, I'm in Isaiah 19, verse 22, and the Lord shall smite Egypt, he shall smite and heal it, and they shall return even to the Lord. And he shall be entreated of them and shall heal them. And in that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria. And the Assyrians shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria. Get this. And the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. And in that day shall Israel be the third in an alliance with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, Blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, mine inheritance. You never hear anybody talk about this biblical prophecy, but I'm talking about it because you're getting ready to see something. Trump is crushing ISIS in Syria, and he will build a new relationship with Assad through Putin. He is now meeting with Sisi to heal the wounds of the Obama era, and he's already built a strong alliance with Netanyahu of Egypt. Watch as the land will be healed and this allegiance will be built. This is a good thing. It's prophetic. It's in the Bible. You're living in the last days. Are you saved? Give your life to Jesus Christ. We're running out of time.